is going on, guys? This is Richie here, back again from the Red Planet Films, bringing you yet another movie review. And if you can't tell by the title or by what I'm wearing, it's going to be for Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, this will be a full-blown spoiler review. Primarily, the spoilers will be towards the end of this review, so just want to give you a bit of a heads up if you haven't seen the movie. I would suggest sort of straying away from this review until you have, and then coming back once you've seen it, getting sort of like my full thoughts and analysis on what I thought. And then, maybe we can have a good conversation going on in the comment section down below. But anywho, I saw this movie last night with my sister and a friend of hers, and I wasn't really looking forward to this movie. The Marvel hype train has pretty much died down for me for quite a long time now. I want to say since Avengers Age of Ultron came out. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't even seen that movie. I haven't even seen Winter Soldier. But the fact that the internet exists, I pretty much have. Because you just get everybody kind of making memes about it, or talking about it, going full spoilers, and just kind of complaining about it that I didn't really have any interest in seeing it. I have seen Civil War, and I have seen the other movies that have come after those. The last Marvel movie that I really enjoyed was Doctor Strange because it was different. And Civil War I thought was okay. In Civil War, I thought Spider-Man was like the best part. So the reason why I wasn't really looking forward to this film was because just by the first two trailers and some of the TV spots that they were showing in the ads on YouTube pretty much told me what the whole movie was about. And I'm like, okay, why am I going to see this movie if I already know what's going to happen? It's pretty much a coming-of-age story for Spider-Man. He's a teenager. This one is more high school oriented, which I do like a little bit more. Kind of follows almost Ultimate Spider-Man, so to speak. And it's going to be him kind of finding himself. He wants to join the Avengers, but he's not quite there yet because, well, he's a kid. And, such and such happens. Tony Stark takes away the suit, and Peter Parker pretty much has to find out if he can be Spider-Man either on his own or if it really is just with the suit. And that is exactly what the movie portrays, just what you see from the trailers. And I feel like they could have set the trailers up a little bit more different, but I understand the fact that this is the 6th film adaptation of Spider-Man. So people might be a little bit fatigued of seeing Spider-Man because of the fact that since Spider-Man 3, Sony hasn't really been able to knock it out of the park. The first 2 Spider-Man films by Sam Raimi will be in its own elite class of superhero films and Spider-Man films. Those are like the top 2 to try and pass as far as like the bar that's been raised. So I can understand the marketing aspect behind this film that, okay, let's show Iron Man. People like Iron Man. People love Robert Downey Jr. And people were afraid that this was going to be sort of like Iron Man 4 or like Amazing Spider-Man 2.5 or like Spider-Man 3.5, you know what I mean? In the sense that they're cramming too many people into one film. That's not the case. Some of the scenes that are shared between Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark, Iron Man, were some of the best in the movie. However, that does not change the fact that I did not enjoy this movie at all. I really wanted to love it. I really wanted to be proved wrong by what I saw in the trailers and everything. But due to the fact that I pretty much saw the whole movie in the trailers, I knew it was going to happen. I knew exactly how it was going to play out. But that's not to undermine the fact that Tom Holland is probably the best Peter Parker and Spider-Man that we've seen since Tobey Maguire. Andrew Garfield was okay. Tobey Maguire is in his own sort of class, so to speak, for lack of a better term. Tom Holland takes sort of the current Spider-Man and some of the previous Spider-Mans that we've seen, case in point from like the 90s cartoon, that's sort of like cheesy, a bit over the top, and comedic elements of Spider-Man and Peter Parker, and plays it to perfection, as well as the high school part of Peter Parker. The part that everyone, myself included, can relate to and have related to. About the age of 8 or 9, I was introduced to Spider-Man, and I've been in love with the character ever since. Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 will always be my favorite films. Amazing Spider-Man was okay. Amazing Spider-Man 2, I try to forget, as well as Spider-Man 3. And Tom Holland, again, Spider-Man, I loved. I enjoyed him. I thought he was the best part in Civil War. And again, he knocks it out of the park as Spider-Man Peter Parker in this film. However, there's just a lot of things that they did in this movie that, for that, why not just do Miles Morales instead? If you want to be different, if you want to change things up, like you have been with the whole diversity movement in your comics and everything, Marvel, and the casting choices that you guys made, I feel like going with the Miles Morales route would have been probably the better choice, in my opinion. But again, it's just an opinion. If you guys disagree with it, totally fine. But before I get into those thoughts and those spoilers, let me start off with this. The acting, again, great. Tom Holland, awesome. Michael Keaton, awesome. He was A1. Some of these scenes that he shared, especially one towards the latter portion of the film with Peter Parker, was very intense. He doesn't have to raise his voice. He doesn't have to get aggressive. He just has this screen presence and this intimidating look on his face that he's able to exude just so easily that he made the Vulture very memorable, in my opinion. He made him one of the more memorable villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We had Ego in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which was pretty cool, and I can't remember another villain prior to that I've enjoyed. Loki was cool, and that's it. Michael Keaton, I thought, was a great addition, and it was a nice little change of pace, a nice refresher that, okay, cool, we have a nice, awesome villain. And his motivations were very simple but believable. They tied it into the first Avengers film very well, where they were cleaning up Grand Central, rather, with the whole alien attack. And they take some of this alien tech that was left behind because the FBI decided to take over the whole cleanup crew's job. And then he's like, all right, you know what? I'm just a regular average Joe. I'm a construction worker. I'm doing this. I got screwed out. You know what? I'm going to go into a life of crime. And you know what? It's kind of believable. You know what I mean? It's just a simple little piece of story, and then they used it to build up this villain. And I thought it was pretty cool. And Michael Keaton made it very believable once more. And then the rest of the acting was pretty cool. Marissa Tomei. Oh, man. I like to spend some time with her. But she did a great job as Aunt May, It wasn't, like, a whole lot that she was in the movie, but she did a pretty good job. And again, Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. He was born to play Tony Stark. And I think even Stan Lee said that himself. And, yeah, really can't, go into how much more I enjoyed the acting element of the film. The score, the Spider-Man theme, this is probably the best Spider-Man theme since the Danny Elfman score in the original Sam Raimi trilogy. The take on the whole Spider-Man theme song, the one that everyone knows, was pretty cool. I thought it was awesome. And then the rest of the score in the movie was pretty stellar as well. And to go into the suit, I love the suit. I want to buy this variation of the suit so bad. One thing that irked me in Civil War, and in this movie as well, and I get it, it's Spider-Man. You can't really do a lot of practical stuff with Spider-Man, although they did quite a bit in the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. Primarily more in Amazing Spider-Man 1, but that's a different story. I'm talking about the crazy acrobatics he's doing and everything like that. Obviously, you can't do that. However, I felt that there were a couple of scenes in which they used a CG version, and it felt unnecessary. It felt like, okay, did you really have to do that with CG? You know what I mean? I'm very odd. I like seeing suits, practical suits, in motion. I like seeing them live. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? And there were just a couple of scenes that stood out because they were computer generated, and I don't know, it just kind of irked me. But the scenes in which we did see the suit practical, that Tom Holland was actually like standing there wearing it full garb and everything, it looked very nice. Looked very awesome. The Vulture suit was pretty cool. I liked, the whole high-tech gear look of it, and then like the green eyes. I thought that was very like intimidating and everything. It really made him feel like a predator, like a vulture actually is. Especially one scene towards the latter like literally the final act of the film is just this wide angle shot, and like you see like the whole wingspan and everything, and I thought that was really cool. But I don't know. I'm feel like I'm being very nitpicky and anal, just like these small little complaints or whatever. But I don't know. Just stuff like that bothers me. I don't know if that bothers anyone else. But overall, the ending, I feel like it could have been a little bit more impactful. Again, another sort of Marvel movie where nobody really dies. But again, it's a 15-year-old take on Spider-Man Peter Parker. So, to have him sort of deal with that whole level of grief, I understand why they wouldn't want to kind of go that route. But it is what it is. Gonna have to kind of switch it up, Marvel. But hopefully, Thanos, once he comes and hopefully he just kills a whole bunch of people. That would be very lovely to see, as grim as that may sound. Now, to kind of go into the spoiler territory, so if you guys haven't seen the movie, get out of this video, go watch and come back. But towards the end, when, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, captures Vulture, defeats him, he has another meeting with Tony Stark. Tony Stark is like, hey, you know what? Good job. Okay, here's your suit back. But also, one other thing, I want to show you this cool little Easter egg of the Iron Spider suit, which looked beautiful. I would love to see that thing in action. It looked really nice. I kind of geeked out over that a little bit. And one thing, again, to kind of backtrack about the casting differences, was Flash Thompson is like a punk little kid. I feel like Peter Parker could easily take this kid down. He's just as equally as a nerd as Peter Parker is, but he decides to be like this bully, and it's like, come on, dude, really? I don't buy the fact that this kid could boss around and pick on Peter. I don't know. It just seemed silly. Flash Thompson was always sort of like this jock douchebag, and I don't know. It just didn't make any sense to me. It was very bizarre. The character of Ned, I thought he was fine. He was cool. Some of his stuff was very funny. And again, getting into the whole comedic element of this film, I thought it worked. I didn't feel like it was forceful. I felt like Guardians of the Galaxy, while there were parts of it that were funny, Volume 2, that is, by the way, some of it did feel a little bit force-fed. This one was natural, especially given the circumstances that they were in. It just worked. But again, to kind of go back to what I was just talking about, one reveal had me, although I'm pretty sure everyone and their mother saw it coming when the casting was announced, when it finally happened, I was not pleased with it. And that was the casting choice and the revelation of MJ, Mary Jane Watson. Didn't like that at all. And then to talk about the suit one more time before I forget, I was really bothered with the whole high-tech aspect of the Spider-Man suit. I understand that Tony Stark developed it, but it was almost like Iron Man, Spider-Man suit. You know what I mean? Like he was talking to like a computer in the suit, and had all these crazy different high-tech features for like the web shooters and everything like that. And then there was a little drone in the spider emblem. I found all of that to be very silly and too convoluted and convenient for certain situations that happened. I would have much rather have seen him get himself out of those predicaments that he was in, because I felt like it would have further helped him grow from like Spider-Boy, if you will, to Spider-Man by the end of the film. So stuff like that, I hope they kind of strip away from future films, but I'm sure that they won't, because it's already been established. So it'll be like, okay, why did the suit sort of downgrade? So I felt like that could have been done without. While there were certain elements of the film that I did enjoy, primarily Tom Holland as Peter Parker and Spider-Man, there were too many different choices that they made that I didn't appreciate. And I guess that's due to the fact that I just love Spider-Man so much. I've been a fan for 15 years. I've been an avid reader of the comic books, the video games, the cartoons, even like that weird CG cartoon on MTV that they had like years ago. I just love Spider-Man so much. So I feel like some of these choices that they made were just too force-fed. And hopefully, with the next Spider-Man film, whichever route they go, I just enjoyed it a little bit more. And honestly, when I got out of the theater, I felt like I wanted to cry, and how much I was disappointed. And, I wanted this just as much as a whole bunch of other fans wanted this, to see Spider-Man join the MCU, and it took Sony to finally, like, screw up so bad that they pretty much said, hey, borrow the rights to Spider-Man and do whatever you please. Just give us credit, please. There's always a old saying that I'm pretty sure everyone has heard, and that is, be careful what you wish for. And this almost in essence was a be careful what you wish for type aspect for me. Didn't really find myself enjoying this movie, and it makes me sad. Again, I hate to sound nitpicky. It's only just my opinion. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on what you felt. But overall, for me, those are pretty much all my thoughts and opinions. And if I had to give Spider-Man Homecoming a letter grade, I'm going to have to give it a solid C-. I initially wanted to give this movie a D+, but I feel like that would have been a little bit too low. But, I guess D+ C- range, if there was something like right in the middle, it's probably right there. So I decided to go with a C-, because a D, in essence, is almost a little bit too low. But just to kind of further elaborate on where I stand on this movie, it's somewhere in the middle of there. But, I don't know. Those are my thoughts. Again, just strictly an opinion. I'll understand if, some people disagree with it, and if some people agree with it, cool. But again, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions down in the comment section down below. So if it's not too much to ask, just leave a little comment, tell me what you thought of Tom Holland, what you thought of the score, what you thought of the acting, what you thought of the casting choices, what you thought of the suit, any and everything. Feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. Make sure to check the description box. You'll find the link to our gaming channel, Red Planet Gaming. In case you didn't know, we also have a gaming channel in which we're 590 subscribers strong, so check that channel out if you're interested, as well as our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram information down below if you want to follow us on social media. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button. Any little bit of help helps us out tremendously, and we appreciate it nonetheless. And most importantly, if you're new, hit that subscribe button, or if you haven't already, turn on notifications so you can be alerted whenever we upload a new video. And that is pretty much it. I am going to probably watch the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man and probably cry and eat a bucket of ice cream. And that is pretty much it, folks. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will catch you guys in the next one.